Many people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail quietly because they were shy about the wrong things. Shyness is often misunderstood as humility, but sometimes it is fear wearing a polite mask. We stay silent, not because we are peaceful, but because we are afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or rejected. Over time, this silence becomes expensive. It costs us growth, clarity, and connection. Life teaches us an important lesson. Being humble is good, but hiding your truth is not. There are certain things in life you should never feel embarrassed about. These are not weaknesses, they are signs of awareness, maturity, and self respect. The first thing you should never be shy about is asking for help. Every strong person you admire once needed guidance. Even the tallest tree depends on the soil, water, and sunlight. When we ask for help, we are not admitting failure, we are choosing progress. Struggling alone does not make you brave. Knowing when to reach out makes you wise. Many people are tired not because they do too much, but because they allow too much. Saying a no does not make you rude, it makes you honest. If you don't protect your time and energy, the world will happily use them without permission. The third thing you should never be shy about is expressing your values and beliefs. Your values are the compass of your life. When you hide them to please others, you slowly lose direction. You don't need to argue or impose, just live honestly. Quiet confidence speaks louder than loud approval. The fourth thing you should never be shy about is your growth journey. Your past mistakes, slow progress, or small beginnings are not shameful. They are proof that you are trying. Everyone is running a different race at a different pace. Comparing journeys only steals joy. Honoring your own builds strength. Remember this, confidence is not about being loud. It is about being comfortable with who you are. When you stop being shy about the right things, life opens doors you didn't even know existed. Shyness is often misunderstood as humility, but in many cases it is fear wearing a gentle disguise. On the surface, it may look like politeness, calmness, or modesty, but deep inside, it is frequently rooted in the fear of judgment, rejection, or failure. True humility comes from confidence and self-awareness, while unhealthy shyness comes from self-doubt. The danger is that over time, this kind of shyness quietly limits personal growth without making any noise. It does not announce itself as a problem. Instead, it slowly shapes our choices, our silence, and our missed opportunities. Many people believe that staying quiet will protect them. They think that if they do not speak up, they will not be criticized. And if they do not express their opinions, they will not be questioned. But life does not reward silence that is driven by fear. When we constantly hold ourselves back, we begin to live smaller than our potential. We stop sharing ideas even when those ideas could help others. We stop asking questions even when those questions could bring clarity. Gradually, we accept less, not because we deserve less, but because we are afraid to ask for more. This kind of shyness becomes especially harmful when it is mistaken for good character. People may praise someone for being quiet or a low profile, while internally that person may be struggling with unexpressed thoughts, unmet needs, and suppressed emotions. Over time, this creates frustration and regret. The heart knows there was more to be said, more to be tried, and more to be lived. But fear kept the door closed. Growth requires expression. Just as a seed must break open to become a tree, a person must step beyond in a hesitation to grow. When shyness controls decisions, it limits learning experiences. You avoid challenges not because you lack ability, but because you fear embarrassment. You avoid leadership, not because you lack vision, but because you fear responsibility. Slowly, fear begins to decide the direction of life, and potential remains unused. It is important to understand that humility does not mean hiding yourself. Humility means recognizing your strengths without arrogance and your weaknesses without shame. It allows you to speak when needed and stay silent when appropriate. Fear-based shyness, on the other hand, keeps you silent even when your voice matters. It convinces you that staying invisible is safer than being seen, even though being unseen often hurts more in the long run. When people reflect later in life, regret usually does not come from what they said or tried. It comes from the chances they never took and the words they never spoke. Fear-based shyness creates these regrets quietly, day after day, choice after choice. That is why it is dangerous. Not because it is loud, but because it is subtle. Breaking free from this kind of shyness does not require becoming loud or aggressive. It simply requires honesty with oneself, It begins with small acts of courage, expressing an opinion, asking a question, or taking a step forward despite discomfort. Each small step weakens fear and strengthens confidence. When shyness stops controlling you, growth begins naturally and life starts expanding in ways you never imagined. Asking for help is often misunderstood as a sign of weakness, but in reality, it is one of the clearest signs of wisdom and emotional maturity. Many people grow up believing that strength means handling everything alone. They are taught directly or indirectly that depending on others makes them less capable. Over time, this belief becomes deeply rooted, and people begin to carry burdens in silence, even when support is available. This mindset does not make life stronger. No human being is designed to function in isolation. From the moment we are born, survival itself depends on others. Growth, learning, and progress are all shaped through shared knowledge and collective effort. Yet, as adults, many of us hesitate to ask for help because we fear judgment. We worry about appearing incapable or being seen as a burden. This fear convinces us to struggle quietly, even when a simple conversation could bring relief or direction. When a person refuses to ask for help, they often delay progress. Problems that could be solved early grow bigger with time. Confusion turns into stress, stress turns into anxiety, and anxiety turns into exhaustion. The energy spent pretending to be fine is far greater than the energy required to seek guidance. Asking for help is not about giving up control. It is about choosing a smarter path forward. The strongest individuals understand their limits. They know that self-reliance does not mean self-neglect. True strength lies in awareness, knowing when you can handle something on your own and when support is needed. Even the most successful people rely on mentors, teams, and advisors. They reach heights not because they knew everything, but because they were willing to learn from others. Asking for help also builds meaningful connections. It creates space for honesty and trust. When you allow someone to support you, you give them a chance to contribute, and relationships grow stronger. Many people want to help but do not know how until they ask. Silence blocks connection, while openness invites understanding. There is also deep courage in vulnerability. Saying I need help requires honesty, and honesty requires bravery. It means accepting that you are human, not perfect. This acceptance is freeing. When you stop trying to appear strong all the time, you create room for real growth. You stop performing and start progressing. Another important truth is that asking for help does not make you dependent forever. In fact, it often makes you more capable in the long run. Guidance teaches skills, perspective, and clarity. What you learn today with support becomes your strength tomorrow. Independence grows faster when it is supported by learning, not isolation. Life becomes lighter when shared. Carrying everything alone may look strong from the outside, but inside it creates fatigue and emotionals. Choosing to ask for help is choosing health, balance, and progress. It is a reminder that strength is not about doing everything alone, but about doing what is necessary to move forward with clarity and courage. Setting boundaries is one of the most misunderstood yet essential practices for a peaceful and balanced life. Many people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear being seen as selfish, rude, or unkind. They worry that saying no will disappoint others or damage relationships. As a result, they say yes when they mean a no, agree when they feel uncomfortable, and remain silent when something feels wrong. Over time, this pattern does not create harmony. It creates exhaustion. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are guidelines that teach others how to treat you. When boundaries are unclear or absent, people may unknowingly cross limits, not because they are bad, but because they were never shown where the line exists. Resentment then builds silently and relationships begin to suffer. Ironically, the very effort to keep everyone happy ends up creating emotional distance. Many people are tired not because they are doing too much meaningful work, but because they are carrying responsibilities that do not belong to them. They give time they do not have, energy they cannot spare, and attention they desperately need for themselves. Without boundaries, life becomes a continuous cycle of obligation. The body may continue functioning, but the mind and heart slowly burn out. Saying a no is often viewed as rejection, but in truth, it is an act of honesty. When you say yes, sir, without the capacity or willingness to follow through, you are not being kind. You are being dishonest. Boundaries allow you to give from a place of willingness rather than pressure. They ensure that when you say yes, it is genuine, and when you say no, it is respectful. Healthy boundaries also protect self-respect. When you repeatedly ignore your own limits, you teach yourself that your needs do not matter. Over time, this lowers self-worth and creates inner conflict. On the other hand, honoring your boundaries reinforces the message that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. This self-respect naturally reflects in the way others treat you. It is important to understand that setting boundaries may initially make some people uncomfortable. Those who benefited from your silence may resist your change, but discomfort is not a sign of wrongdoing. It is often a sign of growth. Relationships that are healthy will adapt, while unhealthy dynamics may fade. Both outcomes are necessary for emotional well-being. Boundaries also create balance. They help you manage responsibilities without losing yourself in them. With clear limits, you have space to rest, reflect, and recharge. This balance allows you to show up as a better version of yourself, more present, patient, and compassionate. Ultimately, boundaries are not about control, they are about clarity. They help life flow with less resentment and more peace. When you protect your energy, you are not pushing people away, you are making room for healthier connections and a more grounded, fulfilling life. Being shy about your growth journey often comes from the belief that progress should be fast, perfect, and impressive. When life does not match this unrealistic expectation, people begin to hide their struggles, delays, and mistakes. They compare the behind-the-scenes reality with the finished highlights of others and conclude that something is wrong with them. This comparison quietly steals confidence and replaces pride with shame, even though growth was never meant to look the same for everyone. Every meaningful journey begins with uncertainty. No one starts with clarity, confidence, or mastery. Growth is built through trial, error, and repeated effort. Yet many people feel embarrassed about slow progress, as if moving at a different pace is a personal failure. They hide the learning process, fearing judgment, forgetting that every strong foundation takes time to settle. Progress that lasts is often slow, quiet, and invisible to others for a long time. Mistakes play a powerful role in growth, but they are often treated like evidence of weakness. People apologize for trying, feel ashamed of falling, and hesitate to start again. In reality, mistakes are proof of movement. A person who never fails is usually a person who never attempts anything meaningful. Growth demands discomfort, and discomfort always brings moments of failure. Being shy about these moments only adds unnecessary emotional weight to the process. Small beginnings are another reason people hide their journey. They want to be seen when they succeed, not when they are learning. But greatness is not born fully formed. It is shaped gradually through ordinary days and repeated effort. When people dismiss their small steps, they lose motivation and overlook how far they have already come. Acknowledging small progress builds momentum and self-belief. Another challenge is the pressure to meet social timelines. Society quietly sets deadlines for success, stability, and achievement. When someone's journey does not align with these expectations, they feel left behind. This creates unnecessary shame. Life is not a race with a single finish line. Each person carries different responsibilities, challenges, and starting points. Comparing timelines only distracts from personal growth. Owning your growth journey builds resilience. When you accept where you are, you stop fighting reality and start working with it. This acceptance does not mean settling. It means understanding your current position so you can move forward wisely. Confidence grows when you acknowledge effort, not just outcomes. Being open about growth also inspires others. When people see honest progress instead of perfection, it creates connection and encouragement. It reminds everyone that struggling does not mean failing. It means becoming. It means becoming. Growth is not meant to be hidden. It is meant to be honored. When you stop being shy about your journey, you reclaim dignity in your effort and peace in your progress. Saying "Anu" is one of the simplest words in language, yet for many people, it is one of the hardest to speak. The difficulty does not come from the word itself, but from the emotions attached to it. People fear disappointing others, being misunderstood, or losing approval. As a result, they say yes, sir, even when their heart is exhausted, the schedule is full, or their values are compromised. Eva. Over time, this habit creates stress, resentment, and inner conflict. Many people confuse politeness with self-sacrifice. They believe that being kind means always agreeing, always adjusting, and always being available. But constant agreement is not kindness, it is avoidance. It avoids discomfort in the moment, but creates deeper discomfort later. When you say yes, sir, without willingness, you are silently saying a no to yourself. This repeated self-denial slowly weakens confidence and emotional health. Saying a no is an act of honesty. It communicates your reality clearly instead of creating false expectations. When you agree to something you cannot genuinely give, you risk showing up with frustration, half-hearted effort, or regret. This does not serve you or the other person. Honest refusal, when expressed respectfully, builds trust because it aligns words with truth. Many people worry that saying a no will damage relationships. In reality, healthy relationships respect clarity. People who value you will appreciate your honesty, even if they feel momentary disappointment. Those who react with anger or manipulation often benefited from your lack of boundaries. The reaction reveals more about the relationship than about your decision. Learning to say no also teaches emotional responsibility. You stop taking ownership of other people's feelings and focus on managing your own. You realize that it is not your job to fix every situation or meet every expectation. This shift creates freedom. You act from choice, not pressure, and from intention, not guilt. There is also a deep sense of self-respect that comes from honoring your limits. Each time you say a no to what drains you, you say yes to what nourishes you. You protect your time, energy, and mental space. This protection allows you to give more meaningfully to the things and people that truly matter. Saying a no does not mean you stop caring. It means you care enough to be truthful. You can refuse without being harsh, and you can be kind without being self-destructive. Tone, respect, and clarity matter. A calm and firm no is more respectful than an exhausted and resentful yes. Over time, practicing honest refusal builds confidence. You no longer fear expressing your needs because you trust yourself to handle discomfort. Life becomes lighter because you are no longer overcommitted or emotionally stretched. When a no becomes a tool instead of a threat, balance returns. Ultimately, saying a no is not rejection, it is alignment. It aligns your actions with your capacity, your values, and your well-being. When used wisely, it becomes a powerful form of self-care and a foundation for a more peaceful, authentic life. Your values are the quiet principles that guide your decisions when no one is watching. They shape how you respond to pressure, how you treat people, and how you define success. Yet many people feel shy or hesitant about expressing their values, especially when they fear disagreement or rejection. In an effort to fit in, they soften their beliefs, stay silent, or adjust themselves to match the expectations around them. Over time, this silence creates inner confusion and emotional fatigue. When values are hidden, life begins to feel directionless. You may stay busy, productive, and socially connected, yet still feel unsettled. This happens because values act like an internal compass. They help you decide what deserves your time, what compromises are acceptable, and what paths are worth walking. When you ignore or conceal them, decisions become harder, and satisfaction becomes temporary. You may achieve goals, but they won't feel fulfilling because they are not aligned with who you truly are. Many people avoid expressing their values because they confuse conviction with conflict. They believe that standing for something automatically means arguing or imposing opinions on others. In reality, values do not need to be loud to be strong. Quiet consistency speaks more powerfully than constant explanation. Living according to your principles without forcing them on others naturally earns respect, even from those who disagree. Another reason people hide their values is the desire for approval. Acceptance feels safe, especially in environments where standing out invites criticism. But approval gained by self-betrayal is fragile. It requires constant adjustment and emotional effort. When you shape yourself to please everyone, you slowly lose connection with yourself. This disconnection shows up as anxiety, dissatisfaction, and a sense of emptiness, even in social settings. Expressing your values creates clarity in relationships. It helps people understand who you are and what you stand for. This clarity may initially reduce the number of people who agree with you, but it improves the quality of connections. Relationships built on authenticity are more stable and respectful. When values are clear, misunderstandings decrease, and mutual expectations become realistic. Values also provide strength during difficult moments. When life becomes uncertain, values offer grounding. They remind you why you started, what matters most, and where your boundaries lie. A person without expressed values often feels lost during challenges, while someone rooted in principles finds direction even in discomfort. Values do not remove problems, but they give meaning to endurance. Hiding values often leads to internal conflict. You may act in ways that contradict your beliefs just to maintain harmony. This creates guilt and self-doubt. Over time, repeated compromise erodes self-respect. On the other hand, honoring values builds inner peace. Even when outcomes are uncertain, alignment brings calm because you know you acted truthfully. Living by your values does not mean perfection. It means awareness and effort. You may stumble, adjust, and learn, but your direction remains clear. When you stop being shy about what matters to you, life becomes simpler. Decisions feel lighter, confidence grows quietly, and authenticity replaces anxiety. Values, when lived openly, do not divide life, they align it. Living authentically means allowing your inner truth to guide your outer life. It is the practice of being honest with yourself and expressing that honesty through your actions, choices, and words. Many people hesitate to live this way because they fear rejection or misunderstanding. They believe that to be accepted, they must adjust, hide parts of themselves, or wear a version of themselves that feels safer. While this may bring temporary approval, it often costs long-term peace. When you constantly shape yourself to fit external expectations, you create inner tension. Your thoughts say one thing, but your actions say another. This disconnect slowly drains emotional energy. Even when things appear fine on the surface, there is a quiet discomfort within. Peace does not come from being liked by everyone. It comes from being aligned with yourself. Authentic living removes the need to constantly perform or pretend. One of the greatest benefits of authenticity is inner stability. When your actions reflect your true self, you are less shaken by opinions. Praise feels pleasant but not addictive. And criticism feels uncomfortable but not devastating. This emotional balance comes from knowing who you are and standing by it. External reactions lose their power when your internal foundation is strong. Living authentically also simplifies decision making. When you know your values, preferences, and limits, choices become clearer. You no longer overthink every step or seek constant validation. Decisions are guided by alignment rather than approval. This clarity reduces anxiety and builds quiet confidence. Life feels less chaotic because you are no longer pulled in multiple directions trying to please everyone. Another powerful aspect of authenticity is emotional honesty. When you allow yourself to feel and express emotions truthfully, you create space for healing. Suppressed emotions do not disappear, they resurface as stress, irritability, or emotional numbness. Authentic living encourages acknowledgement rather than avoidance. This honesty with yourself fosters self-compassion and emotional resilience. Authenticity also strengthens relationships. Relationship. When you show up as you are, connections become real. People know what to expect and trust grows naturally. While some relationships may fade because they were built on pretense, the ones that remain are deeper and more meaningful. Being authentic attracts people who value you for who you truly are, not for who you pretend to be. Many fear that authenticity will lead to conflict, but often it leads to clarity. Clear communication prevents misunderstandings and unspoken resentment. Even when disagreement exists, it is healthier than silent dissatisfaction. Authenticity does not demand confrontation. It simply asks for honesty with respect. Living authentically is not about being flawless or rigid. It allows room for growth, learning, and change. You can evolve without betraying yourself. Authenticity means staying connected to your core while adapting wisely to life's experiences. It is a journey, not a destination. Ultimately, inner peace is not found by controlling the world's opinion of you. It is found by accepting yourself fully and living in alignment with that acceptance. When authenticity becomes a habit, life feels lighter. You stop fighting yourself, and in that harmony, peace naturally settles in. Every person is moving through life at a pace shaped by their circumstances, responsibilities, opportunities, and inner struggles. Yet many people burden themselves with unnecessary pressure by constantly comparing their progress with others. This habit creates the false belief that there is a correct speed for success and that anyone moving slower is somehow failing. In reality, growth has never been uniform, and measuring yourself against someone else's timeline only creates discouragement. Each journey begins from a different starting point. Some people receive early support, clarity, or resources, while others must first overcome challenges that are invisible to the outside world. When you compare outcomes without understanding backgrounds, you ignore the complexity of life. Ooh. What looks like slow progress may actually be remarkable resilience. What looks like quick success may be built on unseen advantages. Comparison strips context and replaces understanding with self-judgment. Personal growth is not linear. There are seasons of rapid progress and seasons of pause. Sometimes growth looks like moving forward, and sometimes it looks like resting, healing, or learning quietly. When people judge themselves during slower phases, they misunderstand the purpose of these moments. Stillness is not stagnation, it is often preparation. Roots grow deeper before branches reach higher. Comparing journeys also steals joy from present progress. Instead of appreciating how far you have come, your attention shifts to how far someone else appears to be. This constant measurement turns growth into a race rather than a process. You may reach milestones but feel no satisfaction because your focus is fixed on what others have achieved. Joy cannot survive where comparison dominates. Another hidden cost of comparison is distorted self-worth. When progress becomes the basis of value, slower movement feels like inadequacy. This mindset ignores effort, persistence, and learning. A person who falls and rises repeatedly is often growing stronger than someone who never faced resistance. Growth is not just about visible achievements, it is about inner capacity. Everyone's life carries different priorities at different times. One person may focus on career growth, while another prioritizes family, health, or healing. These choices do not indicate ambition or lack of it. They reflect alignment with current needs. Comparing paths without acknowledging priorities creates unnecessary pressure and self-doubt. Letting go of comparison allows growth to feel personal again. You begin to listen to your own rhythm instead of external noise. Progress becomes meaningful because it is aligned with your life, not someone else's expectations. This shift builds patience and self-trust. You learn to measure growth by consistency rather than speed. When people stop comparing, they also become more compassionate toward others. Instead of envy or judgment, there is understanding. Everyone is seen as evolving rather than competing. This perspective reduces insecurity and creates emotional freedom. Growth is not weakened by a slower pace. It is weakened by constant self-criticism. When you honor your journey, you protect motivation and mental peace. Life unfolds more naturally when you allow yourself to grow in your own time. True progress is not about being ahead of others. It is about moving forward with awareness, effort, and self-respect. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life, yet many people feel deep shame or embarrassment when they fail. Society often teaches us to avoid failure at all costs, equating mistakes with weakness, incompetence, or personal flaws. From an early age, we are conditioned to hide errors, apologize excessively, or compare ourselves to those who appear flawless. This fear of failure creates a cycle in which people stop trying new things, avoid challenges, and suppress their potential. Over time, the emotional cost of hiding mistakes becomes heavier than the mistakes themselves. Mistakes are not indicators of weakness. They are proof of effort and engagement. Every action taken, every risk attempted, and every decision made opens the door to learning. Even when outcomes are unfavorable, the experience gained is invaluable. People who succeed in life often look back and realize that their failures were the true teachers, shaping resilience, wisdom, and skill. Avoiding mistakes out of fear, on the other hand, limits growth and confines life to comfort zones. Many people feel embarrassed about sharing mistakes because of perceived judgment from others. This shame can be amplified in social, professional, or familial settings where expectations are high. Yet hiding errors does not protect reputation. It only prevents authentic learning. The more people attempt to conceal their mistakes, the more they build internal stress and anxiety. Mistakes, when acknowledged openly, diffuse fear, normalize learning, and foster humility. Another reason people shy away from embracing mistakes is the desire for perfection. Perfectionism creates unrealistic standards, making even small errors feel catastrophic. The truth is that perfection is an illusion. Everyone has flaws, misjudgments, and setbacks. Accepting mistakes as part of the process allows for more realistic expectations and sustainable effort. Growth is incremental and each mistake contributes to the larger picture. Mistakes also build character. When handled with awareness, they teach patience, accountability, and problem-solving skills. They force individuals to reflect, adapt, and improve. People who shy away from mistakes miss these opportunities for inner growth. Resilience is not developed in comfort. It is cultivated in moments of challenge and recovery. Being open about mistakes also strengthens relationships. Sharing failures creates authenticity and connection. Others feel safe to be honest, and collaboration becomes stronger. Silence and secrecy, by contrast, can create isolation and misunderstanding. People often admire courage more than perfection. Acknowledging mistakes demonstrates bravery and emotional intelligence. Mistakes are also temporary. Every failure is a step, not a destination. While immediate outcomes may feel discouraging, the lessons gained remain permanent. These lessons guide future choices, improve judgment, and build confidence. By fearing mistakes, people miss the opportunity to transform setbacks into stepping stones. Finally, mistakes remind us of our humanity. They are universal, connecting everyone across experiences, cultures, and generations. No one is exempt from error, and accepting this reality fosters humility and compassion for oneself and others. Mistakes are not shameful. They are proof of life being lived fully. Each mistake, when embraced, brings wisdom, resilience, and the freedom to keep moving forward without the heavy burden of fear. True confidence is often misunderstood. Many people equate confidence with being loud, outspoken, or always in control. They believe that someone who speaks boldly, takes charge, or dominates conversations is naturally confident. But the reality is quite different. True confidence is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted in self-awareness. It does not seek validation from others, nor does it crumble under criticism. It comes from knowing who you are, accepting yourself fully, and trusting your own judgment. Confidence begins with self-acceptance. When you recognize your strengths without arrogance and your weaknesses without shame, you no longer need to perform for approval. There is freedom in accepting yourself as a work in progress. This does not mean complacency or ignoring areas for growth. It means acknowledging reality without harsh self-judgment. Self-acceptance forms the foundation upon which genuine confidence is built. Another aspect of true confidence is resilience. People with quiet confidence do not fear failure because they view mistakes as learning opportunities rather than proof of inadequacy. They try, fail, and try again, understanding that each attempt strengthens the capability. Unlike arrogance, which collapses under scrutiny, authentic confidence remains stable even when outcomes are uncertain or challenging. It thrives on effort, not guarantee. Confidence also manifests in the ability to stay calm in the face of judgment. People often temper themselves because they worry about being criticized or misunderstood. A confident person, however, does not rely on external opinions to define self-worth. They can receive feedback, both positive and negative, without allowing it to destabilize their sense of self. This instability allows them to act thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Another dimension of confidence is authenticity. Confident individuals do not feel compelled to imitate others or fit a mold. They act according to their values, beliefs, and instincts. There is no need to exaggerate, boast, or perform to prove worth. Authenticity creates a sense of alignment between internal self and external expression, which naturally radiates quiet confidence. People are drawn to authenticity because it is trustworthy and relatable. True confidence also involves humility. It is the understanding that no matter how skilled or knowledgeable you become, there is always room to learn. Humility prevents arrogance and keeps a person grounded while still allowing them to acknowledge their accomplishments. Confidence and humility are not opposites. Together, they create a balanced, approachable strength that does not intimidate others. Another key element is courage. Confidence allows people to take action despite fear or uncertainty. They step forward even when the path is unclear because they trust their ability to navigate challenges. This courage is not reckless. It is informed by self-awareness, preparation, and inner conviction. But it does not control decision-making. Confidence also fosters healthier relationships. When you are secure in yourself, you do not need constant validation from others. This allows interactions to be more genuine, compassionate, and respectful. Confident people can listen, support, and collaborate without feeling threatened. Their security in themselves strengthens bonds rather than creating dependency or competition. Inner peace is another byproduct of confidence. A person who trusts themselves and accepts their journey experiences less anxiety about judgment, comparison, or failure. Life feels lighter and decisions become simpler. Confidence is not about controlling outcomes. It's about trusting that you can handle whatever comes your way. Ultimately, confidence is the quiet assurance that your value is inherent, not earned through constant proof or performance. It allows you to live fully, act decisively, and grow continuously without fear of judgment. True confidence is not loud. It is the calm, steady force that carries a person through life with clarity, courage, and grace. Vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, and yet it is one of the most powerful forms of strength a person can possess. Many people spend their lives building walls around their hearts, fearing that showing emotions, admitting uncertainty, or sharing struggles will make them appear fragile or incapable. This fear of being exposed creates distance between themselves and others, and even between themselves and their own feelings. Over time, hiding vulnerability becomes a silent barrier to growth, connection, and authenticity. True vulnerability is not about oversharing or seeking pity. It is about being honest with yourself and others. It is the courage to acknowledge that you do not have all the answers, that you are learning, and that life sometimes challenges you in ways you cannot control. When people allow themselves to be vulnerable, they open the door to real connection. Relationships deepen because others see the authentic human behind the exterior. Trust and intimacy flourish when people recognize that vulnerability is strength, not a flaw. Many people shy away from vulnerability because of fear of judgment or rejection. They worry that if they reveal doubts, insecurities, or past mistakes, they will be labeled weak or incapable. Yet the reality is that vulnerability often inspires respect. It demonstrates courage, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. People who dare to be vulnerable show that they are comfortable with who they are, even when imperfect. This quiet bravery often draws others closer rather than pushing them away. Vulnerability is also essential for personal growth. Learning requires uncertainty, risk, and occasion. No one grows without stepping into discomfort. By being open about what you do not know or where you struggle, you create opportunities to learn, adapt, and improve. Pretending to have all the answers only limits learning and prevents progress. Embracing vulnerability allows life to teach you lessons you might otherwise miss. Another important aspect of vulnerability is emotional release. Suppressing feelings may feel safe in the short term, but it accumulates stress, anxiety, and even physical tension over time. Expressing emotions in a controlled, honest manner prevents this buildup. When you allow yourself to feel sadness, fear, or uncertainty, you process experiences fully instead of carrying hidden burdens. Vulnerability is the pathway to emotional resilience. Being vulnerable also strengthens leadership and influence. People gravitate toward leaders who are real, approachable, and willing to admit mistakes. Leaders who hide behind perfection or authority may command attention, but they rarely inspire loyalty. Vulnerability creates relatability, showing others that growth, learning, and mistakes are part of every journey. Moreover, vulnerability encourages authenticity in those around you. When one person dares to be honest about struggles or doubts, it creates a ripple effect. Others feel safer to express themselves, share ideas, or seek help. Vulnerability builds community because it breaks the illusion that anyone must be flawless to matter. It is also a practice of self-acceptance. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you acknowledge that it is okay to be imperfect, uncertain, or still learning. This self-acceptance reduces the constant pressure to perform, be perfect, or hide struggles. You become more compassionate toward yourself and patient with your journey. Ultimately, vulnerability is a bridge between your inner world and the outer world, between isolation and connection, between fear and courage. It is not a sign of weakness, but a declaration that you are willing to live fully, feel deeply, and grow genuinely. Those who embrace vulnerability discover a richness in life that cannot be achieved through walls, pretense, or avoidance. It is the courage to show up, exactly as you are, in a world that constantly tests strength and resilience. Gratitude is one of the most transformative habits a person can cultivate, yet many people feel shy or inconsistent about expressing it. In a world focused on achievement, comparison, and accumulation, it is easy to overlook the simple power of saying a thank you or appreciating the present moment. People often believe that gratitude is only necessary for major events or grand gestures, but in reality, it thrives in small, everyday acknowledgements. Shyness about expressing gratitude can limit not only your relationships, but also your own sense of happiness and fulfillment. Gratitude begins with awareness. It requires noticing what is good in your life rather than focusing solely on what is missing. Many people move through daily routines on autopilot, unaware of small acts of kindness, moments of beauty, or opportunities for learning that surround them. When gratitude is expressed, whether through words, gestures, or simply reflection, it reinforces a positive mindset. Over time, this habit reshapes how you perceive the world, highlighting abundance instead of scarcity. People often hesitate to express gratitude because they fear it may seem excessive, insincere, or awkward. They worry that acknowledging someone else's contribution might make them appear dependent or overly emotional. Yet genuine gratitude never weakens a person. It strengthens bonds, builds trust, and nurtures empathy. A simple thank you has the power to transform relationships, turning ordinary interactions into meaningful connections. Gratitude also nurtures humility. Recognizing that life is not solely a result of individual effort allows you to appreciate the roles others play in your journey. No one succeeds entirely alone. Mentors, friends, colleagues, family, and even strangers contribute to progress in ways often unseen. By expressing gratitude, you honor the interconnectedness of life, reminding yourself that giving credit is not weakness but strength. Expressing gratitude consistently also improves mental and emotional well-being. Research shows that individuals who regularly reflect on or verbalize gratitude experience reduced stress, improved mood, and a stronger sense of purpose. Gratitude shifts focus from complaints to appreciation, from lack to abundance. Those who shy away from it deny themselves these profound psychological benefits, often underestimating the simple power of acknowledgement. Another aspect of gratitude is its role in resilience. Life is unpredictable and often challenging, but practicing gratitude, even for small things, provides perspective. During difficult times, noticing what remains positive or what lessons can be drawn fosters hope and endurance. Gratitude does not eliminate hardship, but it allows you to navigate it with strength, balance, and a calmer mind. Gratitude also encourages generosity. When you recognize the goodness in your life, you are more likely to share it with others. Acts of kindness, support, and encouragement flow naturally from a grateful heart. Shyness in expressing appreciation can create emotional distance, but openness nurtures connection, cooperation, and a sense of community. The more gratitude you express, the more it multiplies. Furthermore, gratitude strengthens authenticity. Being openly thankful demonstrates self-awareness and emotional intelligence. It shows that you are conscious of both your needs and the contributions of others. This honesty fosters respect, deepens bonds, and cultivates mutual appreciation, personal and professional settings. Ultimately, gratitude is not just a polite gesture. It is a mindset that shapes perception, behavior, and emotional health. Shyness about expressing it limits growth, connection, and inner peace. When gratitude becomes a natural part of life, it transforms ordinary experiences into extraordinary moments of awareness, joy, and meaningful interaction. It is both a mirror and a bridge, reflecting the goodness in life and connecting hearts through acknowledgement, respect, and love. Patience is one of the most undervalued yet essential qualities for a fulfilled life. Yet many people feel shy or frustrated when it comes to practicing it. In a fast-paced world that glorifies instant results and immediate gratification, waiting is often seen as a weakness or inefficiency. People fear being judged as slow, incapable, or lacking ambition if they pause, reflect, or allow processes to unfold naturally. However, patience is not about passivity. It is an active, disciplined choice that allows life to progress in alignment with timing, growth, and wisdom. Patience begins with self-control. It requires resisting the urge to act impulsively, to demand immediate outcomes, or to react emotionally when things do not go as planned. Many people confuse patience with inaction, but true patience involves deliberate awareness and thoughtful engagement. Ooh. It allows you to observe, assess, and respond rather than being driven by frustration or anxiety. Practicing patience in daily life builds resilience, steadiness, and clarity of mind. Another crucial aspect of patience is trust. Trust in the process, trust in yourself, and trust in life. When you are patient, you acknowledge that not everything can be controlled or predicted. Life unfolds at its own pace, and rushing often leads to mistakes, stress, and disappointment. By cultivating patience, you develop faith that challenges, opportunities, and growth will come at the right moment. This trust reduces anxiety, fear, and the constant urge to force outcomes prematurely. Patience also nurtures emotional intelligence. In moments of waiting or difficulty, impatience can trigger frustration, anger, or regret. Those who practice patience learn to manage these emotions, respond thoughtfully, and maintain balance even under pressure. Emotional regulation is strengthened because patience encourages observation over reaction. This discipline not only improves mental well-being, but also enhances interactions with others, as calm and steady individuals create a sense of safety and respect in their relationships. Growth and learning are deeply tied to patience. Mastery, skill development, and personal transformation require time, repetition, and persistence. People often abandon pursuits prematurely because they expect instant results or compare themselves to faster progress in others. Patience allows individuals to embrace the journey fully, to persist through setbacks, and to appreciate incremental progress. Without patience, even great effort may feel wasted, but with it, every step becomes meaningful. Patience also deepens relationships. Understanding that others grow, learn, and respond at different speeds encourages empathy and tolerance. Patience with loved ones, colleagues, or friends can create tension and conflict, while patience fosters understanding, connection, and trust. People feel valued when you allow them the space to evolve at their own pace, and this strengthens bonds in both personal and professional settings. Furthermore, patience encourages long-term thinking over short-term gains. In a world obsessed with quick fixes, those who wait, plan, and act with foresight often achieve more sustainable results. Patience allows for thoughtful decisions, careful planning, and consideration of consequences. It is a form of wisdom that balances ambition with discernment. Practicing patience also cultivates gratitude and mindfulness. Waiting teaches appreciation for the present moment, reduces anxiety about the future, and encourages reflection on the journey rather than only the destination. Life's small joys become more visible when impatience does not cloud perception, and moments of stillness can offer unexpected insight and clarity. Ultimately, patience is not simply a passive virtue. It is a dynamic practice that shapes character, decisions, and experiences. It builds resilience, strengthens relationships, enhances emotional intelligence, and allows growth to occur naturally. Those who cultivate patience understand that life unfolds in its own time, and that the most meaningful results often come to those who wait with awareness, trust, and persistence. In learning patience, one learns the art of living fully, gracefully, and wisely.